Hey there, complexion tingers. I'm Corey, and we're going to paint some magical skin on Magnus the Red here. Check out my last video for how the feathers were done. I'm starting off with a base coat of a ruddy brown with some rhinox hide for midtones. Skin is actually quite complex, with all the blood and veins and skin meat under it, so you never really want to just stick to one uniform color across it. That's why I jump around quite a bit here. Magnus the Red is known for being red, but I don't want him to look clownishly red. Once I have the oranges and browns in place, I very sparingly mix in some lighter tones to do a soft highlight with, as all that white will very easily destroy our work. Once done, I hit the skin with a final bit of red so that he doesn't look like a 20-minute dead corpse. I take some of the skin highlight that I saved and use it to pick out small details and manually paint striations into the skin. You can mostly look at which way muscles are longest and paint along them that way. Less is more in this kind of application. I actually haven't added any white for the highlights, but it'll still be brighter than what's on the model already because what I've already airbrushed on is darkened by its light application from the airbrush and the darker paint underneath. If I added white to it right now before applying it, it would end up being way too bright and not the subtle transition that we're going for. Once done, I do one more incredibly dilute pass of red to hide messy brush strokes and bring everything together. Not as dilute as I wanted to, so I go back and reestablish some highlights. It happens. Because who needs talent when you got easily reproducible gimmicks, I begin cutting out a stencil to block in where I'm going to airbrush a galaxy. Reminder to edit out my voice cracking there. For more info, check out the video I already did on airbrushing space effects. But in short, we're using hand-cut stencils to make dark waves along his body as a base, then colorful waves as a backdrop for our space features. Painting color directly over black can be a bit tricky, so I go over the whole thing with white waves first to make the subsequent colors pop. There's a lot of different colors you can use for this. I'm picking a heavily blue theme with some orange to contrast it. One thing to note is I printed out my own stencils with a Cricut Joy. I think I hate this product. It constantly disconnects, ruining cuts. You have to pay a subscription service for basic features, and it's, by all accounts, a pretty selfish company. Cricut, if you want to sponsor me, please tweet a picture of a naked old man to my Twitter account at Ben Shapiro, and I'll take that to mean you're interested. Let's do this. Although I airbrushed big flowing background waves before, I'm using the smaller waves at the edge of these stencils to build up the various smaller colored waves. Planets are pretty easy. You just need a stencil of a circle, and you need to mush a bunch of color around into it. Science fiction pigments can look like anything, so you literally can't do it wrong. To make it more believable, you can airbrush or hand paint a brighter version of the primary color of the planet from one direction, as kind of a soft highlight, and then do the same with a darker version of that color from the opposite direction. I make a game time decision to use this nebula cloud stencil and use it perpendicular to the existing waves. I don't think it'll work as like continuous, but I kind of want to screw around and see what it looks like. But it ends up looking kind of neat. I use pink fluorescent paint, so it absolutely needs some kind of white undercoat before applying it. Planets can also have a visual atmosphere, so you can achieve that by covering a planet with a negative of the stencil that you used to make it in the first place, and just lightly airbrush over it with white to give it kind of a soft halo. I decided to make one of the planets look like Saturn, so I use a planetary ring stencil, but it ends up being a bit too long that I have to correct, and I end up needing to outline the stencil anyway, so next time I'll probably just hand paint the ring on. These asteroids over the moon on his chest are another example of something I should have just painted on by hand, and I give up partway to do so. I begin highlighting, but my dog wants to play outside and I kind of forgot about them, but I do them later. You got to make sure you keep your priorities in check. Stars are actually super easy with these stencils. You just spray, and then once you pull them off, hit the center with a blast of paint. And that's all it needs. What I'm doing here is spraying a brush with white paint on it to make spackle, like stars. This is in fact an insane idea for lazy people, as I end up having to clean up a lot of kind of what looks like splatter instead of just dots. So thank God I varnished before doing this. Oh hey, I remembered to highlight the asteroids. Yay, look at me. Alright, so time for his glowy henna tattoos. I mix a ton of Flow Aid, and I mean like a ton, probably 3/4, into turquoise ink, and it functions almost like oil paint, going right into the recesses. I can't use oil paint in every video. I then do the same with white ink and concentrate that where I want the most glow, and it will naturally flow out into the existing blue and make a nice little transition. I decide I want a little more glow, so I zhuzh it up with the airbrush and then reapply some of the ink. I also use the airbrush on his face, but go way overboard, but then just lean into that like I do with most of my painting mistakes. But who will know? I have a very low sub count. Please don't be mad at me because I lied about not using oils. I can't stop using oil paints. It's not my problem. It's just a problem I have. But I take a brick color, I mix in some black and paint that into the recesses. It's actually a great thing to do because I don't want to go and reblend everything and have it take forever. And with oil paint, you can just paint it in where you want it to go over with a sponge with some thinner on it to clean it off of the high points. And then when you're done, you can just go back with a brush and just kind of softly blend that into the rest of the skin. It's so much quicker. It is so much quicker than if I had done it with a brush and just slowly glazed everything into place. Like, what's your time worth? Just pick up some oil paints. They're great. All right. Thanks for listening to my PSA. We're done.